Emissions reduction will have to be considered as part of Australia's electricity objectives. The change has been labelled a long overdue step by the nation's Energy Minister, Chris Bowen.
Going green.
Australia is open for business. Australia is determined to reduce emissions.
A week after the new government passed its climate legislation through Parliament, the nation's energy ministers have agreed to overhaul Australia's electricity objectives to put climate action front and centre.
It sends a very clear direction.
Currently, the objectives are focused on price, quality and the reliability of the power system. Now, states and territories have agreed to include emissions reduction.
Now, this might not sound much. This is the first change to the national energy objectives in 15 years.
It was the first face-to-face meeting of energy ministers since the June power crisis, where the market operator was forced to intervene in the face of rising prices and supply shortages. States are being warned to expect more gas supply shortages for the next 2 years, despite Australia being the second biggest exporter globally.
What we don't want to see is domestic gas producers prioritising profits and exports ahead of local users.
The Albanese government has the so-called gas trigger at the ready, saying it's prepared to put exporters on notice to keep more gas on shore as soon as this month.
Problem is too much of it is being allowed to be exported at our own cost, and that's got to change.
Ministers also agreed to identify crucial transmission projects that need to be built.
There's no transition without transmission.
The nation's education ministers also met in Canberra on Friday. They agreed to address teacher shortages with a national action plan to be finalised by December. It will focus on 3 areas: attracting more people into the workforce, better preparing teachers for the classroom, and it will look at how to stop teachers walking away from the profession.
Now, some people, might say, well, this was just talking. It's not just talking. By listening to teachers, we got ideas we didn't have.
The number of teachers in training has fallen 16% in the last decade. New modelling suggests the nation's high schools are facing a shortage of more than 4,100 teachers in the next 3 years.
This is a big deal. This is a massive challenge. University
dropout rates have exacerbated the problem. Only 50% of students who start teaching finish their course. That's compared to 70% for other degrees.
And if there are other changes that we can make that mean that, say, 60% of people finishing a teaching degree, then we'll go a long way towards tackling the supply issue.
But any real improvement will require increased funding.
I won't speak for my colleagues, but maybe it's just a willingness to get around the table and talk.
Yeah, listen to teachers.
Yes.
I won't say no to more money.
Ministers will meet again in December. Trudy McIntosh, Sky News, Canberra.